Hey guys, we're back with the next episode of Sryth, our fantasy text-based RPG. Last time we were doing the adventures here in Hawklor. We finished the Savage Wilds last time, and got some ominous visions and last words from the guy, the farmer there. We handled some crag wolves for him. So now we're back in Hawklor. I'm gonna just keep doing the adventures. Which the next one is the caves of Westwold. We've heard talk of goblins and giants in Westwold, so this is probably going to have something to do with that. You know, a dark shadow hangs over Hawklor. The recent disappearance of a handful of villagers coupled with growing a number of attacks on livestock and several outlying farms has led many residents to the same grim conclusion. Goblins have returned to Westwold, so here you are. So hey, thanks so much for joining me. Well, let's go. Start. Inbox. Some of these adventures you can scale it up to your difficulty level. So if it seems like all of this stuff's gonna be easy, it won't. A dark shadow has fallen over Hawklor of late, and a handful of its citizens have gone missing. It's widely suspected that goblins have re-inhabited some of the caves that lie scattered about Westwold region to the north. The consensus of the village council and the head of the militia is that goblins must be removed by any means necessary. We inquired with the village council regarding the recent events in Westwold and subsequently offered them their services. They are overjoyed and immediately summoned the head of the village militia, a grey-haired former field captain in the Tizian army named Connorin. Connorin meets you in a shoulder cross and smiles broadly when the village council members inform him you offer to tackle the problem of Westwold. Too many these days are accustomed to living under the protection of others, said Connorin gruffly. I'm certainly happy to see that not all the bold adventurers have left these parts. The world sorely needs folk like yourself, who haven't forsaken grit and valor for a life of contented quiet behind the shield. Connorin explains that Westwold is an area of forest farmland in the northeast of the village. You learn that it was once nothing but a vast untamed wilderness powered by all sorts of foul creatures. Goblins, trolls, ogres, explains Connorin. They all travelled in that wild place at one time. Over the centuries they were of course killed off and chased into sort of shadowy holes of the world. It's been a long time since anyone spotted a goblin out and about up in these parts. Connorin tells you that several farmers whose lands border the Westwold have recently spotted goblins sneaking into the fields and skulking about in the forest. These farmers have also reported missing livestock. And, of course, said Connorin, there's been a handful of folk who've gone missing as well. You learn that it's widely suspected that goblins have re-inhabited one or many of the caves that litter the Westwold area. Connorin, the members of the council fear that the foul creatures are only biding their time until they gather sufficient numbers to launch a full-scale raid on Hawklor and other local settlements. Problems like this one can't be allowed to fester, says Connorin. Few goblins slinking out the shadows to steal livestock will grow to a bloodthirsty army capable of razing villages and towns. The situation discussed at length, and in the end decided that you will go to Westwold alone and discover the true nature of the threat that exists there. Who decided I was going alone? Is it me? Was it me who decided I was going alone? Connorin tells you that he and the village council wishes to be kept informed of your progress. The council members explain that while they cannot offer you a king's ransom, they will see to it that you will receive 500 gold tokens upon successful completion of a mission. As the meeting concludes, the council member wishes you luck and thank you for your bravery. Connorin takes you aside and shows you a collection of items he says are free to take. Perhaps something here will be of use to you. Nah. Before you depart, Connorin explains how to reach Westwold and offers you a few final words of caution. He also commends you for undertaking such a difficult and dangerous task. All of goblindom is savage and knows no mercy, he cautions you. Hatred is their very essence, and it's that which drives them. You must never expect quarter from the light, and you'll be wise to give none. With the ominous words of Connorin still ringing in your ears, you make your way out of the village council building and prepare to set out on your mission. Select travel and look for Westwold. Okay. Let's hit the smithy and sell this stuff that I got from there. Hey, I'll take half. Sure. Yeah, that's some good stuff. Pole arms. Nice. take it. Something else, the flail. It's less than half, but where am I gonna sell it elsewhere? Sell it. Alright, am I still 100? No. Ooh. No, talking. Let's leave. Let's go to. I guess you can identify my items. Identified hidden scrolls. Identified a sigil scroll. Again, identified daggers. We identified a dagger of the emerald flame. What does that mean? What is this? Ancient Alvarin symbols are engraved on the dagger's broad pommel. The weapon is a magical quality. And what of the scroll? One surface of the hidden scroll is covered in all manner of ancient Alvarian symbols. Now properly identified, the small intricate sigil of bear is discernible amidst the other symbols that fill the scroll. Accompanying the sigil, though barely visible, is a short cryptic verse. This is an Alvarian sigil scroll. Reading the cryptic verse of the scroll will release the magic contained. Okay. Read. The instant you read the cryptic verse, the scroll crumbles in dust in your hands. A glowing image of the great bear takes form in front of you. The bear turns its face, you scratch its white mouth and unleash a mighty bellow. Before any sound escapes the gaping maw, the apparition vanishes. In the wake of the image suddenly disappears, you feel somehow different. Cool. Alright, items. Okay, we're doing good. So, we're supposed to travel and then go to Westwold. Westwold is a vast region of forest, hills, jagged tors, and outlying farmland and the northeast edge of the village of Hawklor. This wild place has had a history of playing host to a wide assortment of less than desirable inhabitants over the years, including such denizens as goblins, ogres, and trolls. You discover a small network of caves in one of the nearby slopes, and a stony trail that winds its way up into the hills bears evidence of recent goblin activity. Several sets of goblin tracks leads up to the largest of the cave mouths. Alright. I'm gonna check something right quick, if you don't mind. Hope you don't mind what I put down in words. How wonderful life is. Now you're in the world. Let's hit the cave. A cool breeze drifts out of the wide dark mouth of the cave before you. The ground at the cave's maw shows much sign of recent activity. Vague feeling apprehension comes over you as you peer into the unsettling gloom. Hit it! Na, 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 na. Light stream into the cave from its mouth to the south. Two broken wooden spears and a tattered leather waistcoat lie against the wall here, and a close examination of the waistcoat reveals that it has been pierced repeatedly and is heavily stained with blood. Head south and leave the cave. Now let's check it out. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Your progress along the passage is halted when shouts ring out from the darkness ahead. You clearly make out voices of at least two humans intermingled with those of several goblins. Before long, 5 goblins emerge from the shadows, leading a group of 3 humans, severely wounded man into ruin. The humans have their hands bound and each shown obvious signs of ugly misuse. Suddenly the wounded man stumbles and falls to his knees before he can regain his feet. 2 of the goblins set upon him and begin to beat him savagely. One of the women screams but is instantly silenced by a solid blow from one of her goblin captors. She slumps to the ground, moaning pitifully. Without a second thought, you rush forward and attack the goblins. Sudden appearance startles the goblins. Before the wretched creatures have fully regained their wits, you launch a fierce and deadly attack. Death to the heathens! You step out of the bloody corpses of the goblins and glare menacingly at the remaining 3 goblins. 2 of the goblins step back, apparently dismayed by your display of combat prowess. The larger 3 have moves forward toward you, brandishing the crude stone axe. He snarls ferociously as he draws into melee range. Now he's dead! The goblin staggers to the left and slumps to the floor, nearly decapitated. The 2 remaining shade goblins turn and flee into the shadows, the sound of their footfalls quickly fading. You move over to 3 humans and sever the bonds that tie their hands, or suggest they make their at once to the cave entrance to the south. You help the fallen man to his feet. With his arm over your shoulder, you follow both 2 women as they hurriedly exit the goblin lair. You emerge into the sunlight of Westwold, the man's arm draped over your neck, and set him down gently with his back against the large boulder. You introduce yourselves to the group of the 3 who previously thank you for rescuing them from the goblin captors. You're all battered and shaken from the recent ordeal, but they look upon you with overflowing admiration. You came along not a moment too soon, he says, wincing as he speaks. Those hellish creatures had almost killed 6 of us. We were no doubt moments away from sharing their fate. Why were they walking you around? They were just going to kill you. Learn that 3 people you've rescued are actors, as part of the 3rd housing acting troupe that left Talinas almost a month ago, heading for the city of Sryth. The wounded man, Eka, and the 2 women, Gerald and Sienna, explain that they are 9 members in the troupe and they are the last surviving members. They came on us at dusk, says Gerald, choking back tears as she speaks in a wavering voice. My 2 brothers were the only ones among us bearing arms, and they were the first to be killed by those foul beasts. They took the rest of us into the cave. My sleep will never again be free from nightmares. I'm sure not. Echo rises painfully to his feet and embraces Gerald as tears begin streaming down her face. Sienna tells you that the other 4 members of the troop were killed inside the cave by a large, vicious, and particularly brutal goblin named Bilalek. He must be the leader of these goblins, she says, a tone one of sadness, edged with anger. For the other goblins feared him greatly. He wore a necklace of live spiders, and he carved and devoured pieces of raw flesh from those lives he eaten without mercy with his terrible blade. There are others in that place too still alive. But doubt will be so much for longer. If you have any hope of rescuing them, you must not delay. Okay, shut up then. You tell the actors you have no intention of letting any further harm come to those that the goblins have taken captive, and the hope that you'll be able to rescue them in time. Okay, bye. Wounded and fatigued and still badly shaken from their ordeal, the 3 actors are eager to move away from Westwold at once. You point them in the direction of Hawklor and tell them they can find shelter and safety within the village. Good luck to you, Allison, says Eka, as soon as the others start off the journey out of Westwold. Our prayers will be with you. As the group steps away, Sienna turns from her companions, rushes back to you, and throws her arms around you, embrace you tightly. Sienna steps back and looks at her companions who have stopped to wait for her and smiles. If you're ever in Talinas, Allison, you can find us in the 3rd house in Pinnacle Lane. May the All-Father watch over you in that dark place. Farewell. Oh, we're getting hugs from the ladies. You wave to the actors and depart and watch for them till they disappear from the sight. When they have gone, you continue to the dark entrance of the goblin lair. Let's go. Let's try this again. Go left first. And again from this corner, you hear the sound of dripping water. The cave is covered with thick patches of green pungent mold. Oh, gross. So every human head lies discarded on the floor of the cave here. Anger wells up with you as you ponder the vicious cruelty of the goblin kind. Yeah, like, why are you just killing people? Progress along the cave passage is halted by a threat that suddenly comes out of the shadows. Die. Following your victory, you spend a few minutes recovering before once again setting off through the cave. To the north, an appearance of 2 shade goblins in the passage. Head freezes you in your tracks. The 2 goblins are clad in red armor and each carries crude short swords. Upon catching sight of you, the wicked creatures shriek and rustle along the passage, waving their swords wildly. Well, now they're dead. And both of them had short swords. As the 2 goblin warriors stagger back, you firmly plant your feet on his chest and you left his corpse crashing to the cave floor. Fearing the sound of the battle may attract him, regardless, you decide to immediately continue on your way. Let's keep going. Yep, you weren't wrong. No, we're good. Keep going. Who's this? The passage you're following opens into a small, roughly circular torchlit chamber. Setting the far side of the chamber, a goblin is clad in several layers of animal hide and carrying a large cricket stick. He is flanked by 2 large sword-wielding goblins. Upon spotting the goblin, shaman snarls and directs 2 warriors to attack. 2 goblins charge across the chamber to meet you, their blades poised to strike. They're dead. You step past the bloody remains of the 2 goblin warriors and boldly confront the decrepit shaman. He shrinks back to the shadowy corner, waving his watery hand in a strange but deliberate fashion. This sensation of nausea washes over you. Death goblin shaman falls to the floor of the cave and writhes about in the throes of death for several seconds before coming still. You step on the lifeless form of the wretched goblin prepared to continue on your way. So, no people back here, huh? Oh, this sucks. Go. Is this where the head is? Yeah, that's the head. Alright. To the right now. 2 stops now, y'all. Boom, boom, boom. What Bollock has been carved in the wall here in crude goblin script. You read goblin scripts, girl? Alright, who's here? Large shade goblin crafting a variety of crude wooden weapons. Looks up startled. But they got a blacksmith in here. As you step into a small chamber, he snatches up a toe to his spear and leaps to his feet, thrusting wildly at you. They got a weaponsmith. The goblin weaponsmith pitches forward and strikes the floor of the cave hard, splatting the walls and swallowing the tiny beads of goblin blood. Although the weapon he has been crafting is very crude and not much serviceable, use the stones of a spear he wields appears to be of excellent quality. Okay. Wishing to linger longer than necessary, you once again set off on the way to the cave. Alright. Down here, please. He comes into contact with something in the shadow. You look down and behold a decapitated corpse with a human lying against the wall of the passage. Well, there's the body. We know where the head is. A leather pack resting atop the body contains 2 kepic elixirs. You mutter a silent prayer of the fallen human before once again setting off through the cave. Well, this sucks. We need to find more people. For they're dead, like this guy. His head over there. Alright, we go left first. All the way. What's going on here? Such a small alcove that apparently served an evil purpose. The body of a ruthlessly slain human female is chained in a large stone by her feet. The room is still been cut into multiple stab wounds across the torso. The cowardly brutality of this woman's goblin captors stirred deep rage from within you. As a prayer of the fallen woman and silent promise that her death will be avenged. We've seen all the grossness. Who's here? You step into a small alcove and apparently that served an evil purpose. Body of a recently slain male is chained to a large stone by his hands. There are 2 dozen stab wounds scattered across the dead man's back. Yes, we're getting more and more angry as we search through this joint. Alright, let's go this way. Kill. Keep going. This way. Who's in here? A set of rough hewn stone steps lead down into the darkness here at the end of the passage. Okay, we can't go down until we see what's at the top of this joint. Yes. Kill all the heathens. I didn't mean to leave the artifact. I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry. Freezing your tracks as the passage you're following opens into a long, wide chamber. To the gloom you count 17 goblins within the room, some sleeping, others tending to their weapons. This appears to be a sleeping quarters for a large number of goblins. Due to the placement of the goblins on the chamber, you should you enter it, they might quickly and easily be able to surround you with this kind of kill. We're already enraged. Death. Rain down. Death. Oh, that's it. That's the flare-wielding goblin joining his dead kin on the floor. You quickly peer around the chamber much to your liking. There's no living goblins to be found. Okay. Okay, so it's just a room of everybody sleeping. Now that they're all dead, we don't have to worry about them showing up later, though. So let's hit downstairs. See what else has happened. Okay, let's go left first. The sound of dripping now loud and more distinct. You progress along the passage, is halted by a sudden appearance of a goblin leading 2 stolen half-starved wolves in a taut chain. The goblin steers and unleashes vicious beasts of war who bound along the passage and leap at you. Wolves ravenously tear at your flesh. Or the dead. Last wolf emits a painful yelp and crashes to the floor of the cave, where it lies in a pool of its own blood. Next to its dead kin, the goblin turns a fleece and tigers, leaving you alone. Where are you fleeing? This is the dead end. This goes back up, and we go up, and do more left. It's at the top here. And then get all the way up. Look for artifacts. Part of the decaying human remains in the corner here. You count the heads of 3 humans in a gruesome pile of carnage. Yes, we're enraged. Right, this way. Passage come to an abrupt end where your eyes fall on a pitiful sight. Held in the corner, chained to the walls, an emancipated goblin with his patch of resign, a wooden peg in place of his right leg. You discern that this wretched creature has been beaten severely, with his body covered in dark red welts. The goblin slowly turns his head, and his eyes wide as he looks upon you, mixed horror and fear. Let's see what divination says. Find the goblin is fearful lies. It does not entirely trust wherever you sense the goblin does not necessarily mean you harm. Well, put it out of its misery. Wretched goblin is dead. In many ways, the fate you delivered to the poor creature is better than that which awaited in the hand of its own kin. It searches the goblin's ring, reveals a small copper key. Satisfied there's nothing further of interest here, you once again set off through the cave. Oh, somebody who's coming towards him shows up too. Alright, let's go. South. Okay, let's go this way. Nothing going on that way. Okay, keep going south. Two armed goblins step out of the shadow into the passage in front of you. The goblins draw serrated blades and sneer contemptuously at you as they appear to be sizing you up. Attack. They're elite. Or now they're dead. Right, let's keep the swords. Keep your calm and stuff. Sonic goblin feet flapping in this cave wall in the distance remind you it's not safe to linger here. Without further delay, you once again set off on your way through the cave. Alright. Yes, it's time to end this. The sound of bare feet slapping the floor of the cave precedes the arrival of sizable goblin warband. A dozen well-armed, fierce goblin warriors are quickly approaching from ahead, and yet you are certain that they have not yet seen you. Out of the corner of your eye is but a dark outline covering the side of the passage. Can I use archery? Attack. We gotta kill everything in here. That's what they did to the people. The remains of the goblin warband lie scattered across the cave passage at your feet. The victory bears a grim satisfaction that these cruel creatures never harm another living soul. Discover the large make the golden body of one of the goblins. Leaving the pile of carnage behind you, set off again away through the cave. Here we are. The passage opens abruptly into a wide, torch-lit chamber filled with dozens of goblins, many sparring with each other and many more grouped about a large fire that blazing near the center. You press yourself against the wall out of any direct line of sight from the changes happening to observe the unsettling scene. Your eyes are suddenly drawn to a group of 10 humans sitting against the far wall. Their hands and feet are bound by a thick rope, and several of them appear to be only barely conscious. Cuts and bruises covering their exposed flesh portrays the ill use they've suffered at the hand of their captors. Suddenly, despite a goblin much larger than the others, moving about near the fire, and a broadsword is slung from his back, and his thickly muscled form visibly beneath his scarred leather breastplate is a startling departure from the fair, almost emancipated look common among his goblin kin. The human-sized fiend roughly tosses goblins from his path as he stalks across the chamber, barking orders in a deep, rumbling voice. You've little doubt the large goblin is a chieftain. You also realize that to effect a rescue of the humans means entering the chamber and confronting the fearsome chief and his minions. Can I use archery? No. No. Let's go. Hello, goblin friends. It's me, Allison. The moment you step into the chamber, hush falls over the occupants as every pair of eyes falls upon you. Several goblins armed with spears rush forward to confront you, but a sharp order sends them scattering. You watch with apprehension as the large goblin who gave the order pushes his way through the throng of his cruel kin, drawing up to face you at length of almost a dozen yards. So, this is human fool who invades my domain, says the goblin. Know that you look upon Blalek, the merciful worm. Gullyrod, Jabada, Gildas, or Wretch. Two large shade goblins near the size of their leader step forward from the goblins that line the perimeter of the chamber and move towards without hesitation, and their stone blade axes poised to cut you down. Fight! The goblins encircling the chamber shriek and jeer at you as the two mighty axe-wielding warriors close in. And as the two goblins draw to within melee range, you note the countless scars that wrinkle their faces and upper torsos, a testament to have harsh existence in countless battles. Oh, don't worry about that anymore now, you're dead! Shrieking goblins in the chamber ceases abruptly as your final blow sends Gulliran's lifeless form toppling to the floor of the cave. Balak roars with rage, and a series of swift, fluid motions unsheathes the sword slung across his back and beheads the goblins standing next to him. He then grabs hold of a rogue goblin standing to his left and shoves the frail creature towards you. Melt them, Kizik, he yells. Do not fail me. The goblin shaman begins moving his hand in a circular hypnotic pattern. Almost at once you find yourself overcome with a powerful sense of nausea. Before you can reach the goblin shaman, he thrusts his arms forward, and a burning blob of thick black ooze appears out of thin air and hurtles towards your head. Telekinesis. The black shaman shrieks in alarm as they halt the flight of the putrid blood. Black ooze with your telekinetic mastery and settled, hurtling back toward him. The foul creature shrieks, turns to howls of agony as the speeding ooze slams into him, wrapping him in a burning shell that has few scant seconds transforming into little more than a smoldering husk. Blalek's cold, cruel gaze is fixed on the remains of his dead shaman. Suddenly he throws back his head and roars with rage. His goblins standing about him scatter, no doubt fearing for their lives. Two of the fleeing goblins aren't so lucky. Two swift and savage blows, the enraged chieftain cleaves the heads of his two goblins and hacks their fallen corpses with every broadsword. Blalek steps forward and levels the blade of his broadsword at you. His scar-coated face twisted into a fearsome snarl, and a necklace of live spiders dangling from his neck, and his thickly muscled forearms quiver as his powerful hands renew the grip on the silver sword. You stare at death, human worm, he growls, baring a jagged line of sharp, rotting teeth. Today shall you die by the blade of Balak the Unmerciful. Why is this an option? Didn't we come here to fight? Why is he asking me if I want to flee? The goblins shook in the chamber, silent as the master stalks forward, fearlessly engaging the bold human who's invaded their lair. Die! Die, chieftain. Final blow nearly decapitates the goblin chieftain. Blalek spins around once, staggers forward a few steps, and collapses on the floor of the cave. A sickening gurgle escapes from his throat for several seconds and then suddenly stops. You quickly assume a defensive stance, half expecting to be set upon by more goblins. Much to your relief, the goblins will turn and flee into the shadows, none of them daring to confront the human who just ended the life of their master. In a matter of moments, not a single living goblin remains in the chamber. You examine Blalek's remains and discover the following, which you promptly take. You quickly move your waves to the human prisoners and free them from their bonds. I have 2 keys. What am I supposed to do with these keys? The former prisoners are overjoyed, and several of them remove the tears of their stagger to their feet and cast off the remnants of the ropes that bound them. One of them, a young man named Linmore, tells you that they were all captured at various times by the goblins, and some of them have been held in the cave for nearly a month. Linmore tells you that the goblins kill and devour several of their captives, and that they begin to fear their days were numbered. They are a cowardly lot, he says, his eyes burning with hatred. As the chieftain, there are none among them that cares to face a woman of your prowess. I should not doubt that we have seen the last of them in these parts for some time. The man herbalist of the village of Colmia sets about tending to some of the more seriously wounded and preparing them for the journey out of the cave. It's going on, you make a thorough search of the chamber. In the corner you find several cloth sacks containing large amounts of gold. You also discover several items of interest scattered about the chamber. Just as you conclude your search, you come upon a stone chest with a copper lid, likeness of a fanged serpent's edge, and a copper plating over the top of the lid. Let's see. That's not from here. Small copper key. Chest is unlocked. You carefully open the lid and peer inside. At its contents, a large quantity of gold secured in cloth bags covering the bottom of the chest. Beneath these you discover a silver ring. You rejoin Linmore and the others, and when it's determined that everyone's ready, you begin to slowly, cautiously journey out of the cave. You reach the entrance of the cave without incidents. Because no sign of any goblins during the trek to the surface. There are many tears and cries over the jar, and the fallen captives they spent out the cave mouth into the bright afternoon sunlight of Westwold. As you're preparing to set out with the group for Hawklor, you approach by Linmore, who moves a silver medallion from around his neck and hands it to you. It isn't much, to be sure, he says, but I would like you to have it all the same. Politely thank Linmore as you accept the odd piece. Silver axe medallion. There's more to it than meets the eye. I don't say. Alright, so we got 348, 374, and 74. That's pretty done. I'll keep it. The short trek to Hawklor is swift and uneventful. News of your discovered victory of the Goblins spread quickly upon your return. Townfolk stop in the streets and peer out the windows as you pass, taking a look at the brave adventure who single-handedly ended the gathering threat in Westwold. When you arrive at the village council building, there's already a sizable crowd forming in the steps, and a loud cheer goes up from them as you approach. Can I take a shower before we... Conorin appears and ushers you through the crowd and enters the building. It is undoubtedly in victory that you return to us, smiles Conorin as he meets you in the shoulder cross inside the council building. Conorin and the other members of the village council listen with great interest and without single interruption as you relate to them a full account of your adventures in Westwold. When you last describe your battle with the goblin chieftain and his minions and the rescue of the prisoners, the council members of Conorin shout with praise worthy of the great deed. It's a tale that will be told for a long while about these parts, says Conorin. One of the village council members produces a wooden box and presents it to you. The box contains 500 gold tokens that were promised to you on the outside of your mission. Each member of the council in turn meets you in the shoulder cross and they express to you their gratitude. When they are finished, they bid you farewell and you prepare to set your way as you near the door. However, Conorin comes your side and thanks you again. Your victory is sure to be the talk of these parts for some time to come, he says. It will no doubt serve to remind folks that the quiet, simple life has grown accustomed to here and elsewhere is only possible with people like yourself, Alice, willing to risk life and then to protect it. Conorin slaps you on the back and tells you to stop in from time to time as you step out of the village council building back in the Hawklor's main thoroughfare. It's the end. What kind of different path will I take besides saving everybody? I don't know that. But we'll save. I'm good with it. I'm good with saving that one. Now that we've done that, a lot more have come up. So, there you have it. I'm going to stop it here. But as you can see, a lot of more adventures have opened up since we did that one. So, we might do some of these. I know they talked about the giants. I definitely want to do that at some point here. So I might just go through them as the episodes go on. So hey, thank you so much for hanging out. It's fun hanging out in Hawklor and saving people. Oh, I'll let you see what the ring is. Spiked iron ring. What is a spiked iron ring? Let's see, it's for on hands. Nope. I don't see it. It should be where... Oh, it's where rings are. It's trash, that's what. Alright, let's visit the smithy. Suddenly a chorus of desperate shouts ring out from the north against the village. Without giving a second thought, you turn to race the deepening gloom of the early evening, her hand and face unexpected. She passes by a stalemate tapping on the road leading out to town. You clearly make out 5 times militia ahead, engaged in brutal struggle with a dozen goblins. The vicious creatures shriek quickly as they thrust their cool weapons at their valiant but outmatched foes. Archery, speedy shaft pierces the goblin's throat, and the foul creatures make grotesque gurgling sounds for clashes to the ground. Yes. Cracking the goblin square in the chest, topples over. Suddenly, Conorin, the head of Hawklor's militia arrives at the battle reinforcements. The many goblins are pumping around, so the few survivors flee wildly into the forest. Sound of light footsteps in the road behind you cause you to spin around and assume a battle-ready stance. You have to expect that one goblin holdout to deal with, but the sight of creatures unnerving and unexpected. Creeping along the road towards you, a bit close to the ground, is a tall human clad in a worn leather tunic with a barbed-bladed knife gripping tightly in his hand. A long mane of black hair spills down from the man's head and covers much of his face, but you can see his face eerie and unsettling. A crude tattoo in the shape of a leaf covers the man's entire face, and the flash of a wicked grin revealing a set of sharp, pointed teeth not unlike those of a goblin. "Our time comes, human," he says, sticking a flat of his blade in his mouth and clenching it between his teeth. The man suddenly turns with animal-like agility, bounding the forest and is lost in the gathering gloom. "Well, what would you make of that?" says Cornerin as he meets you in the shoulder blade. "Think you've seen it all, and along came something like that." Cornerin thanks you for coming to aid the militia and tells you that he finds it odd that shade goblins would be bold enough to attack you with armed humans so close to town or village. "They were ordered to attack our man, that much is plain," he says. "I would wager that our friend with the painted face is behind it. I won't soon forget that face." Cornerin tells you to keep his eye peeled for anything suspicious in the coming days and report to him at once should you find something. Okay. I was just trying to go to the smithy. Jake! Wow. Well, I definitely can't sell that to you. And you didn't take bollocks. Blollocs. And can't have the ring either. Alright. Alright, that's it. For real this time. No surprises. Thanks so much for hanging out. And you know I'm gonna say peace.